Let's focus in on the company Mindteck, which is a global technology company. It focuses on product engineering solutions, and it has been in the news of late after winning a state government contract. Yusuf Lanewala, who is the chairman managing director, now joins in on the show to tell us more about this as well as the overall business outlook. Thank you so much for being with us. Let's start off by, getting some more in-depth insight as to what is the timeline for executing this Nagar Palika projects. What's the size as well as the scope for this contract?
This project is essentially for one of the state governments to connect various urban local bodies in the state. And we expect the contract to get consumed over the next 2 to 3 years. The project was essentially conceived of and won in a consortium bid with 2 other key partners. The value of the contract would be in the range of about 200 crores.
Okay, and which other states are likely to go for the automation of such and other different state services from which you stand to benefit?
There are several states actually which are looking at implementing the whole e-government piece, which we are currently in the forefront of. We are talking to several state governments at the moment as we speak, and we expect that some of these decisions are likely to happen in the course of the next 2 or 3 quarters.
Can you tell us what kind of margins this project is going to have?
Specifically, difficult to give you guidance on margins on specific projects, but nevertheless, I think we are looking at least a double-digit EBITDA on each of these projects.
Double-digit EBITDA. So then let's talk a little bit about what the second half of the year is going to shape up to be, because in the first half you've done a revenue of something like 160 crore rupees, PAT of close to 13.5 crores. So where does this take the overall growth trajectory for Mindteck?
Well, I think let me step back a little and talk about the fact that what is it that we are working on currently, and what are the growth drivers that we are looking at. If you look at Mindteck's services, we are essentially in product engineering, and we operate in several verticals, which is automotive, life sciences and chemical analysis, semiconductor and high tech, and of course medical devices and healthcare. So these are the sectors that we currently operate in. We also work very actively on the whole smart city space. Now, if you look at the growth drivers that we're talking about, one of the key levers for growth that we're talking about is the presence that we have in a variety of geographies, primarily which focus on outsourcing the whole engineering and industrial services piece. If you look at NASSCOM's projections, the whole industrial and engineering services piece, we're talking about something like a projected forecast of something like $50 billion on the outsourcing piece, from something like $8 to $10 billion so far this year in the course of the next 4 or 5 years. We believe that we're well positioned because we are really present in all the markets that are really looking at outsourcing. So this was on the outsourcing piece, from something like $8 to $10 billion so far this year in the course of the next 4 or 5 years. We believe that we're well positioned because we are really present in all the markets that are really looking at outsourcing. So this is one of the growth levers that we have. The second growth lever that we're talking about is the presence in the verticals that most of these companies are outsourcing in, which is automotive, which is chemical analysis and life sciences, healthcare, medical devices, and so on, and of course the energy and the smart energy sector. So we believe that we're well positioned in each of these sectors to be able to leverage growth from this market. The third, of course, is the fact that we have long-standing client relationships. Some of our client relationships have been in existence for something like almost a decade. And most of these clients are Fortune 1000 companies who are looking at getting, and leveraging the relationships they have with the vendors like ourselves for trusted, innovative solutions, to some of the work that they're looking at outsourcing. In the past, they were a little chary of outsourcing engineering, research and development kind of activity, which they're now looking at, primarily with the objective of, one, localization, customization to local
Sure.
needs in some of the markets in India. So we believe that the outlook is very healthy.
Right. Sure.
Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, I would like to know that your 70% of your revenue comes from US and 16% from APAC. What are some of the large projects that you're executing here and nature of fresh order intake? Can you share some numbers there?
Well, I'm not allowed to share specific numbers for client projects because of confidentiality reasons with customers. However, I can talk about some of the projects that we do. About 70% of our business, 74% of our business comes from the US, and some of our customers there work in areas like the whole solar energy piece. We work with a client to manage the heliostatic controls of a very large solar farm which has about 1 million mirrors which need to be managed. So that is one of the projects we do. We also work with leading research institutions, like for example with Harvard University, we work with the Center of Industrial Development as a founding member for the Atlas Online project. Now the Atlas Online project essentially focuses on visualization and data analytics of over 100 countries for over 1,000 products. So, planners, businessmen, students, etc., essentially go to the website of CID to be able to look at and examine what potential opportunities exist in these countries. We also work with Berkeley, National University Singapore and Young Technological Institute in Singapore on a trailblazing project, which is a very complex project to design the hardware, the firmware and the application for a project called SINBA-BEST, which is the Singapore, Berkeley Building Efficiency and Sustainability for the Tropics solution. Now this is a piece where we actually have designed the entire product for
Right, Mr. Lanewala, I'm
building.
afraid I'm going to have to leave it at that. We've got lots lined up on the show, but thank you so much for joining in and giving us a view on the company. 200% in the last 3 months, that's no mean feat. The management very promising on the growth prospects, and that's the stock today at the day's high, up by a good 4%.